I guess. And hey, True Believers, Englentine here, and it is a 5:30. We are up at 5:30.
Yes, we are.
I figured I was I did this thing. I fall asleep early. I wake up way too early, and now I'm up, and then I'm going to fall asleep again in about an hour or two and sleep throughout the afternoon.
Well, see, I haven't been to bed yet.
Oh.
I got what time did I get up? Around 2, 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I've been up ever since.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yep.
So I figured let's do a live stream. We're doing right now we're doing a live stream to nobody because hey, let's
who knows where we're doing.
Yeah, nobody knows that we're doing anything online right now. This, by the way, we did a reading. Dalton and I did a reading of Skeeters 3, and all throughout it we had.
I will watch it once we get off here.
The most we had watching all throughout the entire thing was like 3 people.
Huh.
You know, it was a surprise. I normally didn't go on at that time, so
yep.
I used to do this all the time.
I remember.
I was like, hey, I've got something to say, so let me do a live stream.
And I used to be up all these times to catch him.
Hey, Dalton, jump on in if you want. You don't mind, right?
No, I don't mind. No, sure.
If he's up, I didn't even think to go searching for anybody
what are we
else.
Doing up? We're rambling, Dalton. Come on in.
Oh yeah. We do have a story to talk about, but ultimately, it is whatever the hell is on our mind. We're going to talk as a little bit on the subject that's on the thumbnail, how they're race and gender swapping the Sentry. Can you believe that?
Of all people, it's like, wait a minute. They don't. Who knows about this character? Why is it for the MCU?
That's part of what I want to talk about here.
Is it for the MCU or is it for the comic books or both?
Well, no, both actually.
Oh, geez.
As we're going to get into. The problem I have with this is the same in people that are going to be complaining, including myself.
Yeah,
is the same problem I had when everybody was yelling and screaming about the Eternals.
Oh yeah,
I don't believe you. You didn't care about the Eternals. You don't give a f about the Sentry either.
I kind of do because I do know something about the character.
Yeah,
he's not my main superhero, but I do know.
Yeah, can you honestly say you're a Sentry fan? I mean, is there such a thing as like somebody who's like, ooh, I can't wait.
There might be a couple people, but he's a very obscure character. Not all that many people would know who he is. Basically, as I've heard him described by you, is that he is Marvel's Superman.
Yeah, he's Marvel's Superman. He's gone a little bonkers.
Oh, because he's got like a split personality.
Yeah. So here you go. Hey, Dalton, what's up?
Hey, Dalton. Besides besides all 3 of us, what's up?
Good morning, I suppose.
Yes, good evening, good morning. Yes.
So here's the article. Let me bring this down here so I can actually see whatever comments from the.
Bounding into Comics is doing this. Okay.
Yeah, 1, 2, or 3 people who are actually going to be watching us today, or 1 as it is.
Yes, now 1.
It's kind of like our reading there, Dalton.
This'll be one for the rewatches, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll definitely put it in my thing to rewatch later.
Yeah. So it goes. Rumors MCU's Thunderbolts to turn Sentry into a mantle. That's where I have a problem. We'll see his powers inherited by a diverse female successor. It's not diverse. It's black. And I'm going to call Bowden into Comics out for using that language. Because people tend to use the word diverse to mean not white, and generally not a white heterosexual Christian male.
They're using it ironically, and it's easier just to.
Well, we hope that they're using it ironically, but in this day and age, I honestly don't know. I honestly think that people use the word diverse to mean not white.
I would not have a problem with it if it was a white straight female.
An individual cannot be diverse. No matter what, because what are they? Yeah, it's
atypical is the word they're looking for, but
Okay, so it says after plans
I have a bone to pick with the idea of making yet another thing a mantle. Can we just
Let's
stop
get
with
to
the
let's
mantles?
get to that as we go. After plans to race swap their ironic Superman clone for his upcoming appearance in Thunderbolts, it fell through. Remember, it was Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead, and
Invincible.
yeah, and
Oh, okay.
nope.
Ironic? That should be iconic.
Yeah, that's true. It seems Marvel Studios we're editing, bounding into comics as we go.
Yep.
It seems Marvel Studios could be going with their backup plan of gender swapping the Sentry instead. Now, I kind of was like, wait a second, what the hell are you guys talking about? In just a little bit, he says, when Marvel announced that they were going to race swap the character with Stephen Yeun, fans were puzzled by the decision, with many questioning not only why the MCU introduction to Sentry would come in a movie about Thunderbolts, but also why the studio picked Yeun as their top choice to play the Golden Guardian of Good. Yeah, he does not look anything like this.
No.
So it's like, you're not even trying now.
Now, if you got someone like Henry Cavill,
Yes.
or
what's his name? Reacher.
Yeah, or even Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah, somebody who has size. Hey, James, Superman leg is going to suck. Captain Underpants, the best Superman movie since. Oh, okay.
Or you could even get like Scott, what's his name? Scott Eastwood, because Scott Eastwood is a dead ringer for Chris Evans, by the way.
So,
or heck, you could have gotten Anthony Starr. But I've been saying for years that if Marvel really wants to stick it to DC, do a Squadron Supreme movie and then call in Cavill and Godot and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And have them play
so
the
they did pick somebody named Louis Pullman who looked more like the character, but then here it goes. In light of the previous leak, which suggested that the film had originally ended with the collective deaths of the Thunderbolts and the Sentry, as well as Marvel's Comics ongoing Sentry miniseries, it's currently centering on such a concept. And so this dude on Reddit is who called it out, saying he's posited that the hero's debut appearance will end not only with death, but his power being split between 6 ordinary individuals following his passing. And of course, you see him here with the black girl in the wheelchair. To this end, it is believed that the prior exiting the film due to scheduling conflicts, the unnamed role in which the Bear star Ayo Edebiri had been cast was that of the MCU's version of Mallory Gibbs, one of the recipients of Sentry's power in the current comic book miniseries. It's a black female journalist with cerebral palsy, of course. A perfect collection. Man, can you throw in redhead and with scabies? Can we like get more in there?
Yeah.
And have someone who actually has cerebral palsy, very much fuck you.
Is she a lesbian?
I want a royalty. Every article that says check boxes, everybody who says check boxes, I want a royalty. I remember being one of the first ones to originate that term for what goes on.
So unsurprisingly, though the Sentry's power is split among 6 total individuals, it's Gibbs who ends up being the sole survivor left to stand against Ryan Topper, a white teenager with a thirst for power who seeks to kill the other Sentry conduits and take the strength for himself.
And of course, the white teenager is the bad guy because most toxic, blah.
He is white male, dude. Just know your place. Know your free. Well, no, you're one step above me. I'm sorry. You're. Oh no, 2 because you're.
Yeah, excuse me. 3. Thank you, but oh well.
Okay. Yeah. Per the comic books, the true origin of Sentry dates back to 1950s in universe. The character did not actually make his comic book debut until 2000. We know that. Okay, so they're just telling his origin right there. And the basis is, look, there's this. They did a modern comic. Modern writers wrote a book for the modern day audience, and this is what we got going on now. This is what you're doing. Yeah, look, I am against race swapping for the sake of race. Well, like you wanted to put somebody who wasn't a white male into the comic because fuck you, white men. This is modern day comics, and everything's got to be gay or not white or both. And that's just modern. I will bet you money that there was no narrative reason they decided to do this I will
That-
bet freaking money on this.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's, of course, the fact that there would be nothing wrong with any of those things if they were actual characters with likable or engaging personalities, quirks, talents, interests, etc. But no, because reasons.
Yeah.
Because basically, what they do is they say, okay, well, we can't have a black character be evil because if you make one black character evil, we're saying all black people are
Yeah.
evil.
The
Yeah,
one
it's-
drop rule of identity.
The
You make a gay character evil, same thing. So you can't, because that side, I hate to say it, that side tends to generalize. If you have one character of a certain type, they are like the stand-in for everybody of that.
Yeah,
of
it's
that demographic.
that is I don't know if you would call it a soft racism, but it is because
No,
it's like
it's not soft. It is racist.
because ultimately it's like one stands for all, like all black people are the same, all gay people are the same. And yeah,
That's what they have accused, quote, our side of for I don't know how many years, because
7 for me at
least.
least now 8. It's going to be actually, I think
you started in 2017. I jumped on with you. And that's when
yeah, I think I've just hit my 8th year now.
you're working on your
The ball got rolling in 2013 or so with Gamergate, so we can round it to an even 10.
Well, that's
to-
There you go. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now here's the thing I really have. Morally, I'm against it. I mean, I don't like race swaps. I don't like gender swaps. You should use an original character. There's so many out there. You're doing this because of bigotry. They're doing this because of racism. They're doing this because of sexism. That's the whole reason. They see themselves as the good guys, but they're not.
Ideology and morality and every other freaking thing under the sun.
Right. And that being said, when it comes right down to it, I couldn't give 2 shits about Sentry. I honestly cannot begin to care.
On principle, I give a crap because it's a trend. They're taking away all the quote straight white men, straight white women in some cases too, and replacing them. And there's really no need to do it because there are so freaking many. If you look at the Marvel universe, how many characters are there that you got to be able to find at least one that would fit something that you want to do? But because they are not Captain America, Iron Man, Thor,
they don't have the prestige.
They don't have the name recognition. It's like, okay, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Okay, if somebody wants to try to make a cola,
now
they have to go against Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Even though they do a poor job at it, you got to give it up for Sony. I mean, they threw out Madam Web, and that's another character.
I've heard that's actually not too bad. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's not too bad.
Hey,
not
good luck.
It's bad.
You didn't watch our review then.
It's bad. It's just generically bad. It's generically bad circa about 2003.
They gotta, they really have to. Now, I'm not saying update to modern. I'm saying update to about 5 years ago.
I say update to 2012.
Because you want to make better Spider-Man movies, but Madam Web wasn't. You would think with the failure of Madam Web, with the failure of Marvels, with the failure of the Ms. Marvel TV show, for as good as it was, they would realize that perhaps, much like they are with Silk, perhaps we don't do this and we actually make movies that will appeal to the general audience.
Well,
MARANYA is you are an anomaly as far as the audience is concerned.
Absolutely.
There's women out there who love comics and comic book movies, but it is mostly a genre that holds the interest of men.
Right. And the people who are here that are diverse, quote unquote, love the medium for what it is, speaking for myself especially. I don't want the medium to be changed to reflect some academically endorsed oversoul that you all decided that I hold, even though you've never bothered to frack it onto any sort of reality. I want the medium to be what the medium has always been, because it was what the media always has been that made me a comic fan in the first place.
Oh yeah, and of course you are. Of course you're against gay people, and you hate black people for saying that.
Yeah, and see, there's everybody says
I dated a black man for almost a year. You can miss me with all of that.
You hated him all throughout.
Yes, and people say, oh well, you should love the new She-Hulk comic book. You should have loved She-Hulk because it was made for you. No, it wasn't. No, they're not.
It was made for the academically endorsed oversoul that you claim we all hold, even though that never had cracked onto any sort of reality.
No, it's basically made for this mythical all women like this market, and it's not true. I love me some John Wayne movies. I love some rom-coms, but more often than not, my husband's the one more watches the Hallmarks than I do. I don't much care for them because they're predictable.
Yeah.
So I'm not the target audience for a rom-com. I'm the target audience for a good superhero movie. I want to see the action. Yes, I want to see character development, but I want to see action.
But according to academia, that means you've internalized masculinity and are secretly being possessed by the male hive mind somehow.
Fine. If that's the case, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So anywho, it's just one more in a long line. But the thing is I get it on a moral level, okay, but once again, it's the Sentry. Nobody cares. Yeah. I want to see comic book characters portrayed as they are. I
would say if they're gonna go with the Black Superman angle, go with what's his name, Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have gone with him.
That would have been something.
And even better, they could have gone with the whole, oh my God, it's racist thing. Hang on a second. My husband's saying goodbye here. I'll give a second. I'll be right back with you.
Do what you need to. Yeah, she's right. The whole origin of Blue Marvel was that he was told not to use his powers because the whole thing is racist and stupid. Yeah, but the Blue Marvel, he was Superman back in the days of the Avengers, and the reason why people don't remember him is because when he did save somebody and his costume got torn, they were like, oh my gosh, that's a powerful black man. We can't have that in America.
Oh my God.
And so they made him promise to never use the powers or they would arrest him. I don't know how they would have done that. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing the story.
Yep. I read it.
And they could use that as a way of taking him down. He says,
the social justice jumping off point.
Yeah, they could, and if they want to go, oh, yeah, we're oppressing the black man, they could lean into that heavily with and be on brand with what the Blue Marvel actually is. But they don't want to do that. They want to make their own statement about it. They don't want to use what's actually there.
But that's the thing that frustrates me more than anything with social justice writing, because if they focused on quality of writing for more than 5 seconds, they could tell interesting stories that just happen to have a social justice theme. It's like what I said with Rings of Power. If you wanted to tell a story about diverse characters and fighting oppression in Tolkien's Legendarium, why didn't you make a story focused on the Easterlings and their battle against Melkor worshippers? Like, it literally would have written itself, and you could have had access to 2 wizards that have never been shown on screen, and therefore you could make them whatever race you wanted to. And it would even make sense for them to be diverse because they're off in the East where everyone is of non-white racial groups and so on.
Right. And people are complaining in Falcon and the Snowman, which I'll call it for that for E, so he knows what show I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and basically they're complaining about Isaiah. Isaiah Bradley, I think his last name was. Yep. They were complaining about him, saying, "Oh my God, he's a token insert." No, he's not. He is in. I forget which miniseries it was, but they did a miniseries, and I did read it.
Yeah, it's called.
It's been canon for decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been canon, and they actually handled it very well in the books, and they handle it fairly well in the show.
But even instead of focusing on him, though, they turned Flag Smasher, who was a singular one-off character back in the day, into a internationalist, globalist, environmentalist group, and channeled Antifa into it because and framed them as the good guy, the misunderstood good guy somehow. It's just like
and for as much as I didn't like the character, they did do John Walker dirty as all get out.
Yeah,
they really did. Because I've read some stuff with him in it, and we even had him in our role playing game for a season, and they did him dirty.
Well, they were always going to, because he is the quintessential angry, quote unquote toxic masculine white male hero character.
You name it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shift focus here and move on to another story.
What you got?
Have you guys ever heard of somebody named Heidi McDonald?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A journalist extraordinaire. I've never seen an unbiased article. I think I think the reason behind the Eisner's keeping the journalism award is because of Heidi McDonald. Oh wait, no, sorry, they're not keeping it, and I actually believe that she's one of the reasons. Anyway, they're doing this thing here. It's called Comics Pro. This is off her little website here. It's Comics Pro. A meeting launches this week with Marvel's Buckley Retailer Survey, resulting in it results
which
in
totally isn't a ripoff name of Comics Artist Pro Secrets or anything.
Oh, never.
Of course not. The comics industry doesn't really pack up after convention season ends, more or less in October. It just feels that way. But the annual Comics Pro meeting is where publishers and retailers meet up for the first time in the year, and plans are announced and news is broken. Now, I love the concept. I've said some, not a lot, but I have actually mentioned that we need a comic book convention, not necessarily one where fans go to get autographs and such like that, but ones where industry leaders actually sit down and have a conversation. This is not a bad idea, but you get people like Heidi McDaniel or somebody involved in it, and it's like, okay, so what exactly are you after here? Sales conferences, of course, a feature of most industries, as Milton Grip noted, blah, 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 blah. Comic-based events go back at least to the early 80s with distributors like Diamond, yada, yada, yada. Let me get to the, meanwhile, Comics Pro founded. Okay, thank you for the history. Let's get to the meat and potatoes here then.
Good luck.
Let me just skip down because this is the part that really pissed me off. This is the part I really want to talk about. The schedule includes 2.5 days solid of networking and educational events with an emphasis on quantifying the direct market and addressing the industry challenges. It's also best to place to have direct conversations with publishers and distributors so that we could work towards industry-wide solutions. We're so excited about the overwhelming number of responses we've had from publishers and distributors wanting to attend. This is going to be our biggest event ever. Okay.
Sounds good so far, but
we've told you. I'm sorry, comic book industry, but you've got an entire list of fans, the people that have made you a success up to a certain point. We told you, and you told us to go f ourselves. You called us
we were
Nazis.
Immoral and bad people and stupid and blah.
Especially I hung on longer than most. I hung on longer than Gary at Nerdrotics. I hung on longer than Comics Division, Weaponized Nerd Rage. I hung on more than Ethan Van Sciver. To the hope that the comic book industry would improve. I had that belief. The original idea for Comicsgate was that we were to show that we are the buyers. You know, we are the ones that are telling you this is what we want. And every time we had opened our mouths, we heard racist, we heard Nazi, we heard anything but, oh man, maybe we should listen. And you should have. The comic book industry should have. Instead, they gave us the bird. They called us racist. They sent us out the door in search of, and I had a conversation with Tom Brevoort on this, in search of the ever elusive audience that they heard is out there that's not buying their own comics.
Mhm.
It's not even the audience they heard is out there. It's the audience they want to manifest into reality because they think it ideologically should be there.
Mhm.
I get that Disney now owns Marvel, but
Mhm.
DC's a part of this too. I get that they are in some ways beholden to BlackRock because they give the large,
Mhm.
and I'm using BlackRock to mean that entire
Yes, she is a hell of a drug. Yeah.
they give the large loans when you need to build or make something that costs a
Mhm.
lot of money.
Mhm.
But if you want to improve the movies, even make the stories you're basing on them better, make the characters better. And we have mentioned this time and again. Don't give us a Falcon with Captain America's clothes on. Give us a Falcon that is him, and make it some. Don't race swap Sentry. Give us Sentry, and then if you want to use a black character, of whom there are many that as comic book collectors we love, make an original character.
Yeah.
Things must be bad if they want to listen to people. Yeah. But that's the whole thing. They're doing this thing where they're listening to publishers and they're bringing the comic store. The guy that owns the comic stores I go to, his name's Phil Boyle.
Mhm.
Mark Miller had him on.
Yep.
In that interview, we did what's called an EFAP of that.
Mhm.
How much do you want to bet that somebody like him will not be invited to this?
Absolutely not, because
because
he caused sense.
but it's deeper than that. The main issue here is because they tack feared us as immoral, because they blacklisted us, because they invalidated us. Now, if they backtrack and listen to us and go, sorry guys, accident mulligan, that's them ceding every ounce of the moral high ground that they think they have. Imagine if you genuinely believed someone was a Nazi and called them a Nazi for 10 years solid, and then had to come hat in hand and apologize to
And
them.
you know what? I'm going to put a lot of this at the feet of Heidi McDonald, and she might just be a representative, but I will, because it happens like this. I was called, one of the first times anyway, I was called a racist, was when I suggested what you really need to do is to put Ironheart in her own book. At this point in time, she was in Iron Man.
Right.
People at the height of the Marvel universe, people would go into the freaking comic shops. Hey, I saw the Marvel movies. I want to see them. Do you have a Thor book?
2016.
Lady Thor. Let me get Iron Man. Ironheart. Let me get Captain America. Sam Wilson. So at the height of the Marvel movies, they insisted that the Marvel comics look nothing like them.
It was anti-synergy for ideological reasons.
Yeah, they blew it. They absolutely.
There's an irony to that. People were complaining that they didn't match the movies. Now that they are trying to make the books match the movies,
the movies are trying to go where the books were.
Right. They're basically going. People complain that that the books match the movies.
And okay, I'll like to actually address that. In this, you want Tony Stark as Iron Man.
Absolutely.
You want Thor as Thor. I want Thor as Donald Blake. I'm that old.
Right.
You know, you want all the characters to be who they are. You know, if you're just doing the MCU in comic book form, that's wrong, because the MCU characters aren't necessarily the comic book characters. So if you're going to do the MCU, make that line of comics.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Yes.
But that's the reason why you can say, I don't want, you want the identity of the people who are in the movies, in the comics. You don't necessarily want them to be like the people.
Oh, no.
Well, in fairness, I would go at it the other way, where you should minimize some of the like modern snarkism, or I guess in this case I could call it Starkism, that they forced every character to have in the movies, because so many characters just get turned into Diet Tony Starks instead of resembling their actual personality.
Exactly. Oh God! Anybody want to freaking read anybody's version of Deadpool anymore?
Yeah. Wait on that one. everybody, they're saying that Tony Stark, they had in the books, they saying he's more like Robert Downey Jr. That's bunk. If you go back to the 1980s, 70s, and 80s, Iron Man was RDJ before RDJ was playing him.
Yeah, which is why that was perfect casting.
Absolutely, but I'm just saying people are saying, oh no, everything in the modern books, oh, they're making him like RDJ. No, they're going back to his roots.
Unfortunately, though, what people actually are, or what they actually seem to have done, is because Iron Man works so well, they turn every character they can into him.
Yeah,
well, they did that in the they did that in the 80s. You would have characters like Storm, who was a peaceful person because Wolverine was so popular. All of a sudden, she's mohawked and ready to kill.
Oh yeah, yep. Well, once you get a character type that's popular, they try to make everybody better.
Everybody's the Punisher. I mean, freaking hell, they gave guns to everybody in the 90s. Guns. It's like, why the hell is Superman carrying guns?
Guns and pouches.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, Mr. Liefeld.
But I was trying to say, I do hold journalists like Heidi McDonald responsible because of the irresponsible way they reported. We were called racists, we were called Nazis, and then it got repeated, and it got repeated, and it got repeated. And no matter how many people stepped up, as a matter of fact, they would deny a person's race. You would have, well, I'm a black person, and they would say, oh, horseshit.
To the point that Mr. E had to literally take pictures of his own face.
They would deny a person was black. They would deny a person was gay. There's no fucking way Heidi McDaniel was going to believe that anybody disagreed with her that wasn't a straight white male.
Well, the way they got around that is the way they always get around it, which is if you are of a diverse category, but you don't agree with the ideological conception we have of you, that means you've internalized
whatever it is.
You've internalized whiteness or maleness or whatever.
There's,
you've internalized homophobia. I've gotten that so many times.
Put a stop to it here, and everybody should repeat this anytime they hear it. There's no such thing as internalized whiteness. Your skin is what determines it. Oh, it's one of the most racist things, because we got a list, by the way, from I forget, it was a black organization. You remember, Dalton? We did a video about this. The black subdivision of the Smithsonian, actually. There you go. Okay, hold on. Let me finish here. They actually said things like being on time and being a hard worker were white. So if you are on time and being a hard worker, if you use proper English, according to these people, you're an Oreo. White, yes, and you've internalized your whiteness. What the honest fuck? Seriously, how bad do you hate black people to think that any good attribute is white?
Well, they don't see the thing is, they don't think of those things as good attributes. They think that we white people, which I'm putting myself in that category for the sake of this point, we white people have been brainwashed and oppressed and forced into our stoicism box. And so the only way to unoppress all the minorities is to remove all that shit from them, because they shouldn't have to be those things to be successful, is the actual logic they use.
Yeah, and I was going to go back to that point about the conferences. Back in the day, back in the 80s, at DC, you had the Batman conference room, you had the Superman conference room, and all the writers would get together once a year, and they would discuss the storylines and through all the books
the character Bible,
Bible for their particular section of, say, DC for the whole year, and they were all coordinated so that basically if you had Superman doing something in one book, it carried over to the other books. And
that was the writer's room. They could do that digitally now. I don't know what's going on if they have
their Slack chats. They could do it.
Go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As I say, they also, back in the day with Jim Shooter, he ran a tight ship on continuity. Back in the day, they had a loose continuity back when Steve Ditko and Kirby and Stan Lee were running things.
The original bullpen.
Well, it really wasn't a bullpen in terms of an actual room, but it was a thing where they kept things in continuity, and it was loose. And it basically, if people go, hey, why is so and so in this book? There would be an editor's note. This issue occurred before XYZ issue.
Mhm.
Well, to get it back over to what we're talking about, here is also, once again, and I get it, you want to talk the business end, but the customers, the comic book collectors, which I am not sure there's very many. I think a lot of comic book collectors, we are aging out. I don't see younger people in Dalton's generation. Not saying Dalton isn't, but I don't think a lot of them are collectors anymore. I mean, obviously comic books are not the medium that they used to be, but I don't even think collectors are anymore.
I get individual issues when I can, but I tend to lean more towards omnibuses and trades and
readers, but not collectors.
Hardcovers, yeah.
If you're talking about floppy collectors, no, because they've priced a lot of people out of it. There's a lot of people who will not give a $5 book a chance because they go, I don't know this artist, this writer, and I'm not going to give them $5 to take a chance. Back in the day, yes, back in my day, back in E's day, when you had like a 35, 75, or even $1.25 or even $1.50 comic book, you could go, hey, I'll take a chance on that. And I did take a chance on a few books back in the day.
Chance on me.
I took a chance. Took a chance on like Amethyst. I took a chance on Arion. I took a chance on a few others because it was cheap enough that I could go, yeah, oh, it's $1 and change. I can live with if it's stinky. I can just say, that was a mistake.
Well, and more to the point, to your previous point, actually, the reason why you could do that and it was less of a risk was because there was still this ethos of you should care about the characters, you should care about the world building, you should care about the continuity. Whereas now, any kind of basic meritocracy of writing is seen as the devil and should be actively avoided. Is the mindset?
Yeah. How do you go back to continuity and say, this character acts in a certain way? Yes, you can build on that, and believe me, there's a lot of stories where they've built on the past. But nowadays, it's like we don't want to talk about the past. We want the character to do what we want to do. We want to break it down, build it back up, and hopefully build it back up. But they also don't keep people on the books long enough to build it back up.
They also don't like building things back up because they don't think that these things should matter to anyone anyway. They actually take pleasure in smashing our toys and acting like the uppity parent who, you've been spending too much time with that comic book, Jimmy, so now it's off to the mines for you, kind of thing.
So, I just saw that somebody tried to say that Morgan Freeman was dead.
What?
And that no, he's not.
Oh,
he's not.
Don't scare me like that.
So yeah, somebody was trolling.
We lost Betty White. If we lose Morgan Freeman, I'm calling a freaking Geneva.
If we lose, hey, if we lose Morgan Freeman, we have Liam Neeson.
It's not an even trade. I will trade Liam Neeson
those are both 3 or 4 very times powerful.
Over just to keep
Look,
Morgan Freeman.
I get it. Morgan Freeman, he's got a great voice. Liam Neeson has an awesome voice, but they all owe a lot to James Earl Jones. Let's not forget.
Yeah. And he's basically given up the title. He's basically allowed them, if they need to use his voice, to do it with the programs.
But in defense of Morgan Freeman, with him, it's not just the voice. He actually seems to be one of those rare old school actors who has a intellectual bent to him and actually does have. He's not just playing a wise guy. He's not just playing a wise person on TV. He does actually seem to have some wisdom.
He's very, very well educated.
So I'm gonna move us to the third, and we'll call this the last topic of the night, and it has to do with this Comic Pro thing. Maybe I'll follow up on this one, but this is DC Comics. They're finally going back to Wednesday.
Oh, they're going to move their. Okay, they're
Biggest
shifting it back on.
applause came when DC broke the news that they will return to Wednesday release schedule for new periodics beginning in July. Responding to feedback from retailers, readers, DC is returning to traditional Wednesday on sale timing, with new collected editions graphic novels continuing to be released on Tuesdays as a result of the supply chain disruption in 2020. The publisher pivoted towards Tuesdays this summer. DC will realign. One of the reasons for Joy 2 release days meant 2 days for FOC. Okay, so it's all of that. Who cares? Honestly, if you can't fucking sell the book, why do you care if it's on Tuesday or Wednesday? You can't sell the goddamn book.
Yeah, I never even heard about new comic book day. I
Most comic shops would get their books on Tuesday, and then they would.
I never even worried about it.
They would put them out on Wednesday anyway, with all the rest of them. So this is a huge. I mean, look, okay, maybe once again for retailers and all that might be excited, but if you're not making books that people don't like, it doesn't matter when they come out. Nobody likes them, and DC is, in all honesty, they're in the freaking toilet. They haven't had their characters around. They haven't had Batman around. They haven't had Robin around. Tim Drake, at least. You know, they've been screwing up everything. When was the last? They're having. Okay, who is it? Marvel's or DC? One of them's having this event with 70,000 books coming out. What the? Why? What impact does it have?
Either or. Both of them do it.
Last year we had a book called Night Terrors. What did that do for the industry?
Nothing.
Right. And that's the way all of them have turned. They've done them to death, to the point where it's like, we're done.
And it annoys me because the events never let up. There's never just the character having their day-to-day life or their day-to-day hero work doing. Like,
I would say their day-to-day hero work. I don't necessarily want to see slice of life.
Do you know what you?
Well, no, but for a hero work is their day job.
What you want is a Riley Rosmo butt ugly Tim Drake smooching it up with his boyfriend, or you want to see a Superboy that's sitting in the bathtub writing love texts to his pink-haired boyfriend.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. If you want me to feel represented by any of that representation, the characters have to not be insufferable and shit.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the quote straights in, read it. Make it so it's not like, you know, someone getting in your face that they're
maybe if it's actually readable. Maybe if the characters are enjoyable.
If you want to treat
and more to the point, could they be actually physically attractive while we're kvetching?
Wait, you don't like the pastel colored superheroes?
Oh, I don't.
Because this is the thing. Like, do they not realize that gay guys like the gay equivalent of cheesecake too? Like, I want to see the very attractive bulging muscles and etc. That's a thing that, like, everyone with a sexuality likes seeing hot people portrayed in things. It shouldn't be controversial.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Well, look, okay, for the retailers, it makes life easier on them.
Oh yeah,
fine,
it makes it
great,
easier on
okay.
them. Sure.
But I would like to see one that I would like to see something that we see retailers, because remember Heidi McDaniel was the one that went into she was the one that went into that one store that was closing. I remember the article, and she was like, it wasn't the SJW stuff, was it? It wasn't that. That's not what got you closed. And the guy was like, yeah, we couldn't sell the books. So no. And we're like, wait, you couldn't sell the books because of all that woke shit that people throw in, and nobody gives a anymore because they've destroyed the characters. So yes, it was in fact that woke shit that caused these shops to close.
But they ideologically need it not to be their fault, because if it's not their fault, then they can just blame the industry for always being that way.
And I'm telling you, I wish we had Comicsgate again, because I don't think even Nerdrotic and the Black Pills are calling out this stuff. Seriously, they're on to the movies. The movies are bigger. Nobody's fighting for the books anymore. Ethan did what Ethan wanted to do. He took the audience, and he's now exactly what we were fighting against. he's turned Comicsgate into exactly the opposite of what it used
A
to be.
shadow industry.
Nerdrotic in them, they'll go where they'll clout chase. That's what they do. They clout chase. People are talking about Madam Web. Let's make 52 videos about Madam Web. Game of Thrones is bad. Let's make 52 videos about Madam Web. They're clout chasing, and there's no clout in comics. There are no Watchmen anymore for comic books. There just aren't. We're about the best you're going to get these days, because on YouTube now you have a whole bunch of people who are like, say, the what do they call them, actual fandom. You have them who and you have their type that is like, you're not a fan unless you say yes to everything. If you absolutely bend the knee and say this is exactly how Spider-Man should be when he is acting nothing like Spider-Man.
Right.
Or Tim Drake's gay, really? Because there's 30 years of history that says different. Well, you're not a fan of Tim Drake then. They just
made him bi, but they never.
It doesn't matter if they did that or not. There was no sign he was bisexual either. They get another character for it that has not been established. Okay, fine. Like I've always said, I don't have any problem with John Kent being gay, other than the fact that you've just wiped out the fucking Kryptonian bloodline, you pieces of shit.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, Kara could still have kids someday.
With who?
But yeah, well, you could ask if, first of all, we do know Superman can impregnate a human, but can a human impregnate a?
Isn't the entire bottom city of Kandor still there? Just
there
under
is that.
Red Sun?
Okay.
So
yeah, that's one way to do it.
The Kandorians are basically a genetic arc for their people at this point. But in any case,
using a kryptonite condom, that sperm ain't gonna do anything to a Kryptonian egg.
That's a question, but that's neither here nor there is that question. But the issue I have with John Kent is not that he is gay; it's that he's gay and absolutely insufferable, and he's also gay. He's also an Antifa activist, and you could even make something like that work if it was framed properly as a redemption arc for him. Like, he had to learn why you're not supposed to do the proactive activist shit when you have Superman's powers.
Yeah.
Okay. The main problem I have with John being gay is, one, we didn't go on the journey with him.
Yeah. Imagine if they wrote it properly. Also, by the way, you got Robin, Damian Wayne, who is raised in a place that does treat gay people well. How did they miss that storyline? Instead, he shows up, "Hey, Damian, I'm gay. That's okay, buddy." Instead of, "Oh, whoa. Find me the nearest building to throw you off of." Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that won't work.
Yeah, because Kryptonian. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "Really? Here's my Kryptonian knife. Stab.
Raised by assassins in the Middle East. That's not going to go well.
At the very least, there should have been there was a story there that got ignored, and the impact and the drama between two friends, one of who has been raised to absolutely hate you for what you are. I think they absolutely missed out by letting Bendis come all over DC Comics. And just because they advertise it that way, that will always be my line about how Bendis.
Well, I mean, it is, but yes.
Yeah. Bendis screwed up the DC universe in so many effing ways. It's ridiculous.
And then the whole making John an activist thing and framing Antifa as the good guys and
hey, there is no other planet but Earth.
him crapping all over his father's methods of heroism because you're not proactive enough. You're not.
Oh yeah, that was in the first issue.
Which is literally basically John advocating that Kryptonians should be tyrants because they can.
Well, he did in fact attack a cop based on the
ACAB
illegal immigrants,
the ACAB stuff.
Yeah.
So and if you had framed that correctly, if you framed that as John being naive, idealistic, and misguided, and then framed it as a Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender style redemption arc where he had to learn, no, there's a reason why we can't act like tyrants, because with great power comes great responsibility. I know that's a Marvel thing, but a similar logic applies with Superman, and that's why he does the light touch approach.
In the first issue, he really did say to Superman, "You know, you haven't done enough for the world." That just floored me. I'm like, okay, but yeah, that's in the first issue of John Kent's Superman.
And the specific context of why being you didn't get involved in politics, you didn't shape governmental policy, you didn't
exactly.
You didn't be proactive.
Dude, you said it the first time, and you said it shorter. He wasn't a tyrant. But that's just, I don't even know how we got off on that, because I was talking about how you got to make some comic books people care for, and how we used to actually fight for it.
Yeah.
And I said, and people got pissed at me. People got pissed at me. If you remember, I used to say, we're going to lose this fight, but we have to stick with it to win the war, because ultimately we can. Because I know, first of all, I knew that if we lost track, if we dropped the ball, if we took our gaze away from the what was important, the only voices that would be heard, the only people that would be seen, would be the people who agreed with all the SJW, the woke stuff, as it's called now. And it is exactly what happened. As soon as Ethan Van Sciver took over, that was the last straw. That was it for
why I call him Robespierre.
Yeah, that was it for anything. Nobody paid attention, because one thing they knew for a certain fact was Ethan Van Sciver is a fucking Nazi. Now, whether or not he is, was not even in the cards. The comic book industry believed him to be. So now that the already tainted name of Comicsgate, because we had too many trolls, we didn't have enough people who wanted to actually win the culture war. They just wanted to go out and say, "Ha ha, you bitch."
But Ethan declared himself king, and he was also the devil.
When Ethan did that, when Ethan declared himself king, as he did, it put that particular target on the back of Comicsgate, and Comicsgate became ineffectual.
Yes.
And the day Comicsgate truly died was the first time Ethan Van Sciver helped somebody get $1 million on a comic book. As soon as that happened, nobody wanted to listen to the culture war,
because that was all the mainstream clout we were building up gone. Because now it's just an imprint or a shadow.
From there on in, it didn't matter the culture war. What mattered was who was fucking around with Ethan Van Sciver. That's it. That's all that mattered after that.
And with him, he had the He-Man Woman Haters Club kind of attitude. I've watched a few of his streams, and that is the culture that he pushes, is the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
I don't know.
If you have a,
I never did.
Well, you didn't do it, but he did it. It basically, if there was a strong female character, if there's a gay character, it's automatically woke.
Yeah, the presence does not make.
But that's what a lot of him and his crew do push, is that if there's a strong whatever, it's automatically bad. And the MCU group is pushing that as well. They're sensitized to it. I'm sensitized to it. I mean, I've gone back and read some old Iron Mans and gone, oh my God, he's this. I
remember the day they finally published Hulkling and Wiccan's wedding, and Ethan made like a 20-minute video about how this is SJW blah blah because the characters got married, and I'm like, the characters have been gay for their characters' entire history. There's no.
They were that during Civil War, for criminy sake.
Yeah, there's nothing social justice about them finally getting married, which on the one hand and on the other, the good news is that the SJWs virtually forgot that Hulkling and Wiccan existed and will not write for them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what was gay, it matters who they can make gay now.
They want to be able to convert
because it's power politics.
And Hulkling and
Wiccan,
they're not big characters.
No, they're not.
And the whole reason why they're calling Superboy Superman is so they can say, hey, Superman's gay now. And that's a bigger headline. Nobody gives a f about Superboy outside of the people who read Superman comics. So if you make the announcement, it doesn't go beyond us. But if you say Superman's gay, real people, or
normies, if they say Robin's gay, that people normies they're thinking Dick Grayson Robin.
Yeah,
holy suck a dick, Batman. That's that's
pretty
what they're
much.
hearing.
Yeah, they're talking about the Bat Bowl.
Yeah, the Bat Bowl.
Yes,
exactly.
Essentially.
Anywho, this is a merry-go-round we've been on quite a bit, and I got to admit, I've lost my edge. I was actually thinking, there's this meme that came up about a week ago, and it's got Hercules holding Iceman. And I say, yeah, we should do it.
I see a picture. I see a picture.
We should do a video about that. And I completely forgot about it. I'm losing my edge as far as all this is concerned.
It's just so much. It's like it's a day it ends in Y. The new
thing. And I think that's part of the problem. It's like, wait, didn't I make this video? I've literally made the video we're talking about 8 or 10 times.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about it on streams at least probably 50 times by this point.
So I do get that way a lot. I know I should be making these things, but it's like, good Lord in heaven, I've already done it. Hey, Frag, what's up? DC goes double gay on the new Disney motto of put a chick in it and make it lame.
Well, but that's the thing. That's the thing. They don't even make good gay characters or titillating gay characters. And for the love of God, they won't ever let a gay character have a masculine personality, despite the fact that, you know, those of us who are of a bottom persuasion want tops, god damn it.
Yeah, or as Marvel would with Hercules and Iceman, put a dick in him and make him gay. that's what they did with Iceman.
That and give him frostbite.
There you go. Yeah.
At least Herc is the masculine partner, so there is actually a masculine partner in that relationship.
Now? I'm sorry, but somebody this is so I'm so sick of it. That's why I really want a return. I want a return of the group. I really do.
Did they feminize goddamn Hercules? Is that a thing?
They do that all the time. There are no masculine gay people. Look at how Bobby Drake, if they made him gay and they wrote him like Bobby Drake, okay, fine, which is stupid as fuck, but at least you keep the character. But no, they have him, oh hey Dalton, wait for me to stop. Don't wait for me to stop speaking so you can talk again. Let me speak, listen, and then respond. Dude, okay. But here's the thing. They didn't. They gave him a gay handbook, and I'm super, thanks for asking. And he's just the most flamboyant, offensive stereotype of a gay person that you couldn't even find in a 1980s sitcom. Now go. All right.
Okay, but that's, we've been around the Bobby Drake cycle a few times now too. My question is, how in the fuck, literally, do you make Hercules not the masculine partner? He's Hercules, goddammit.
Because any gay person has to be colored with pastels, and he's got to be. And what the hell?
For God's sake.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said they can't make bears, for God's sake, and Dalton knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do indeed, and I will give them the tiniest bit of credit, even though they probably don't deserve it. That given that Hercules, according to mythology, did occasionally have male partners, that would at least make some kind of sense.
Because he was Greek.
But god damn it, if they somehow managed to feminize the quintessential epitome of classical masculinity, then I just give up. If I don't even get to be titillated by Hercules' beefcake, then I just give up.
Okay, basically, a bear is what Herc used to be in terms of a gay man.
My favorite joke, by the way, you remember when they turned the Muppets into The Office?
Oh my God, the Fozzie Bear.
Fozzie Bear's going. He's
goes to the club. Yeah.
He's getting all these messages. He says, "Well, I went to one party. It said Bears welcome. When I showed up, I realized I was I was way mistaken, and I
Yes,
had to leave.
that kind of errors. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a funny
Waka waka.
They don't even do that. They just make all whatever into
I gotta
one type.
gotta ask you, Dalton, what is it about the back of the neck of gay guys that they're always on in the comics? They're always
It's like, oh,
are they picking a tick? I mean, what's going on back there? Because all of them, this is the cover for all the gay cover.
Yeah, it's like they're so shy.
It's a physical representation of the fact that they're shy and awkward. Is
So,
what that's
yeah,
supposed
there you
to be.
go. All gay people are shy and awkward. These people
It's
are
like an anime trope.
yeah.
Yeah.
This all started, by the way, Frag and whoever else. I know we've got like 3. Oh, no, but we're back to 1. But where this all started, we were talking about DC Comics. Their big thing to help sell comic books, or they're moving back to delivering on Wednesday, which doesn't affect us at all. They had this big conference thing where they were talking to retailers and everything about how to save the comic book industry. So we've been going off on that for a while, because none of it has to do with make books better, build them back better.
Well, the thing, as people said before, they think they are doing it better.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was the
That was
I'm the
you.
people.
You're the people.
And or even when they know they're not doing it better, they have an ideological predisposition to hate meritocracy and think that it's a harmful, restrictive delusion or something.
Okay, so yeah, there was something that was going around. I've said this also. There was something going around where they were like, you can't give audiences what they want. It would be bad if you gave audiences what they want. And I will say this. I said this before. I'll say it again. That's the dumbest thing that you could ever say. You want to give audience what they want, but you want to give it to them in a way that they don't know they want it. Look at Frank Miller's Daredevil or The Dark Knight Returns, especially The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, we want Frank Miller's Batman. Give it to us. And then he does what he did, and it was like, holy shit. I didn't even think you could do that with a comic book. And Alan Moore's Watchmen, or V for Vendetta, where you get an interesting and intriguing political drama out of a comic book.
Or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where you're tying back figures.
Yeah, if we're talking about Alan Moore things, I think as far as what I'm talking about, he hit his pinnacle with Swamp Thing, where for the longest time he was a muck monster. And Alan Moore went, wait a second. But you've seen that as well all throughout. We're going to have an epic Batman story. Well, how can you tell an epic Batman story? Because any really good Batman story is more cut down rather than made bigger. Okay, we're going to make Nightfall. Now what do? They made an epic personal story with Nightfall because we're connected to the city. The city's a character in the Batman comics, and the city was near death. And the stories weren't focused on Gotham. It was focused on the events and activities of Batman, of Nightwing, of Batgirl, of Huntress. And they made sure that they were telling character stories.
Yeah, but
getting back, giving us what we wanted in a way that we didn't know we wanted.
Yeah, but the problem is in modern day art schools and thereby all the modern day art school graduates, they actually do tell you to not give the fandom what they want, because they actually consider the simple act of unironically supporting a fandom or believing in an IP to be a sin in and of itself. Because in modern day art schools, they teach that art isn't valuable as a thing in itself. It's only valuable as a means to a socio-political or moral end. Because my themes.
Right. You got to get those politics into it. And by the way, FRAGMINION mentioned 2 things. Of course, what I was talking about is back when artists and writers actually tried, but he's also bringing up the neck thing is from anime.
That's
apparently it's from manga. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is one of the big things. We do know that they were chasing after the female audience. Forget about the fact that they were getting them anyway, but they were chasing after the female audience. And so I think a lot of it happened. Look, there's slice of life animes, maybe or in manga, that's what they were looking for instead of the dynamic popular ones. Look, if I've heard of it, it's good, it's popular because I don't read manga. But the thing is they forget one huge thing. Both are comics, but American comics aren't manga. We are not a Japanese audience. You know, you gotta write to your crowd. Go ahead, Maranya.
I was gonna say there's a difference. Back in the day, you had different genres of comic books with the different companies. You had westerns, you had horror, you had romance, you had superhero, and there the twain should meet. Now you had little bits of those in, say, a superhero book, like you had the Peter and MJ in Spider-Man, but the main focus of the book was superheroics. You had the romance books that were, if you wanted to sell it to quote a female audience, make a romance line. Do not make a superhero book into romance. Don't make it into slice of life.
Well, but
you're right about that.
Here's the thing, though. I don't even think it's that different among the Japanese audience, because among the Japanese audience, the largest and most popular subgenre of manga is shonen, which is the action adventure superheroic type stuff for boys. Still, it's just that there's also shoujo and slice of life stuff and everything. But the thing is also, I'm gonna float the idea that maybe one of the problems is the people who go into these sorts of art schools, who pursue these sorts of social justice degrees, don't like things, and so they turn any medium they work in into whatever it is they like, which is generic Lifetime movie and or Hallmark stuff, as Maranya mentioned earlier.
Yeah, well, that actually makes sense because, well, we've seen them actually doing this. It's like, you know, okay, they don't tell stories about Spider-Man; they tell their own stories, and with Spider-Man in them. Or, I mean, the self-insert has been said forever and a day, and then recently brought back by that one comic book store owner. The worst, of course, it has to be I Am Not Starfire. I don't know why I'm going in and out of focus here. I guess because I'm sitting in the dark. But
it's 6:30 in the morning.
Well, yeah, it's there you go. Come on, focus up. But yeah, I Am Not Starfire is probably the worst example of what they've been doing now for the ever, is when they put themselves into a book.
There's a new one with Captain Marvel, wasn't there?
Yeah, Yuna Yang is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yang? What's Yuna Yang?
She is a thief who specializes in magical artifact stealing, but knows nothing about magic, because why would that be a thing if you specialize in stealing magical
and
artifacts?
Who is she a self-insert of?
The writer whose name escapes me. Alyssa Wong. Thank you.
Alyssa Wong. Yeah, she's the. Can't they bring back Amy Chu? I mean, if they need an Asian writer, she was good.
We do not need X writer to write X subgenre. You need the best writer to write the best book. You don't need to.
So you don't think Asian people are good?
No.
I'm messing around with you. That's what they said.
That's what
these
said.
racist ass, when you say, I don't care if they put a black person in the role, we just need the best.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, dude.
Yeah, because
black people could be the best.
I can tell you right now, I grew up with people being our word racist. They Archie Bunker. I grew up. My father was an Archie Bunker. So,
yeah.
And I learned, and I grew away from that. I said, I don't see people as, okay, I don't see, say, Mr. E as a black man. I see Mr. E as a cool guy who happens to be black.
Yeah, nowadays,
I am essentially colorblind in that regard, and I would be considered racist because I don't see that somebody's race. I don't see Dalton's sexual identity. I don't see whoever's whatever as that's all they are. They're
because people are individuals. And
I see you as Dalton, who annoys me sometimes, but but you're not. I don't say you're the gay guy that annoys you sometimes. It's like
I do
Dalton annoys
constantly.
me sometimes. Well, I just
What's
Well, I mean-
ridiculous?
I don't differentiate, but that I'd be called racist, phobic, you name it, because I don't see those things as defining the person.
What's ridiculous about all this is that, and I don't know why people are listening to 12-year-olds on Twitter anyway. 12-year-olds and freaking bots. That's who's running the country right now.
No, it's
But
Karen.
they actually believe that that when you say you don't see race, you literally don't see race. Instead of you don't actively let that change your opinions.
It's not a relevant piece of information.
I don't
But
treat somebody in any way, shape, or form based on race.
Right.
But
Yeah.
let's steer this back to somewhere that actually would be constructive and interesting, because
Keep moving
the thing
forward.
about all this identity voodoo crap they do,
Mm-hmm.
which it is like the thing about all of that is, you would think that if you wanted the identity of the character to be informed by the knowledge base of the writer, you would focus on people who had shared interests. Perfect example. Weaponized Nerd Rage is a gun nut
You
who
want him
loves
right
the Punisher. Let him write the Punisher. Let me, do some magic stuff, because I want to do magic stuff, and I also have a love for these characters, and both inside the universes and outside the universe, I'm good at magic shit. Stuff like that. If you were going to obsess over identities, let the part of the identity that matters come through, which is, do you share life experience? Do you share interest? Do you share skills? Do you share, literary or academic backgrounds? That shit actually does sometimes matter and can actually make for a more interesting story when it's brought into the right character that matches it.
Yes, and
But
also no, they don't do that. But also the one that was actually a shock when they brought this person in, that she got into Marvel because, quote, she had the same haircut as Riri Williams, is Eve Ewing. And she actually wrote she did have some help. I know she had some help in the beginning trying to frame her stories, but she actually did a competent Ironheart series.
For a while.
It was competent. They had some glitches, because that's because she didn't know quite how to steer the boat.
Well, I guess when they let her off the leash, then it really was not good.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
It wasn't as bad as what came before. I'll give you that much, but it wasn't good. That being said, hold on. We never noticed Dalton's gayness. We can't see it because of his hat. It's all about controlling the
eye.
Okay, the information. Okay, I got that. That being said, I think we've touched upon everything here.
Did we?
And it's almost 7 o'clock in the goddamn morning, and I need
want
sleep.
to do that as Marvel's strongest character?
No, we'll do that another time.
Okay.
It's 6:30 now. We can. I'm off today. We're going to be doing some cleaning up around. I could jump on.
That's what I did when I was on my forced.
Yeah, we still have a lot of packing and a lot of cleaning up to do.
I have done that in the past. It's not.
Thankfully, we it looked like we were going to get a 1-bedroom while we were waiting to find a better one, but it's looking better. Like we can get a 2 or 3, thankfully. But there you go. Oh, industry. Okay. Thank you, Mike. But that being said, we have not been to sleep. So that's why we started the thing about an hour ago, is why not? We're bored. I was bored anyway. I'm going to do a
I was rereading The Stand again.
Yes.
And
I was catching up on 6 days worth of videos.
Say again?
I was catching up on 6 days worth of videos, being offline for 6 days.
Hey, we did a pretty good Disney video, and thank you for showing up for that.
You're welcome. I was glad I was able to show up for it.
Yeah, I'm in the process of cutting it down. I'm going to cut this one down into individual as well.
Yeah.
I also, by the way, Disney retires the controversial 53-year-old Disney character. It's one of the Country Bears. And then I want to talk about the Disney tier. So I do want to get together with you if you have some time today, do some Disney video.
if you're talking about me, and maybe I have to see what all the time I get up.
There needs to be about 8 hours of sleep in between here and there,
That's
or
fine,
I can't
that's
give
fine.
you anything.
By the way, one of the stories we talked about was how they took Mary Poppins and changed it from a G to a PG.
I was there for that. Ugh.
Because of the
the
word
17th century racial or
yeah,
the
because they
racial
used the
slurring.
word Hottentots that was done in the 17th century.
I always wondered what that word meant.
200 years after. I'm sorry, it was like 100 years ago. Gay meant happy.
Not
Words change, dumbasses.
I mean,
But,
it still kind of does mean that, to be fair, but
queer meant
when
strange,
it's convenient.
odd, or usual.
and we do have other articles and such to talk about.
And
And
we only got 4 people watching.
yep. And I don't know. I know what is it, Wednesday? The fossils have their thing. I'll probably
That
do
was yesterday, yeah.
yeah, I'll probably do something as well tonight.
And yeah, tonight would be the best book of the week on the puppet show.
Well, you could do that, or you could hang out over here where it's cool.
Well, hey, both places are cool.
All righty, guys. But thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for Maranya and Dalton for making it harder for my wife to sleep.
Yeah, you happened to catch me while I was still awake.
Yep. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers,
Or morning,
guys.
day, I guess. Yeah.
Take care, true believers.